Hello friends, welcome back to another episode of Soviet SimCity. I'm Mr. Squiggs. Due to some incorrect application settings, I wound up with some kind of garbage footage, so I will crank up the speed. Luckily, while I was recording, it was a pretty boring period. Not that much actually happened. So I will just crank up the speed to speed by. My philosophy with this series has been to sort of show the whole evolution of the town from beginning to end, and I do have many hours of this kind of garbage footage that's not too great to look at. So my compromise here is to crank the speed way up, and that way you still have some kind of sense of what went on, but really I just continued with road work and research and waited to see if the town would survive. Spoiler alert, it does. But yeah, here we go. So right off the bat, we might take a look at some of the statistics, just to remember where we are. We're in November of 1965. So we'll just take a quick peek. Our overall population shrinking a bit, but escapes are on the way down. Deaths spike a little bit as we head into the winter, but births hold steady. Our overall population, it's pretty much flat, but we do have the slight decline in winter. Happiness is still on the way back up. Government loyalty is on the rise. Alcohol addiction is dropping, which is good. Culture enjoyment and sports enjoyment are on the rise. Religion sympathy and clothing quality are looking good. The religion sympathy and the alcohol, you can debate about how they are portrayed in this game all you like, but when they go down, it's actually a good thing. Usually when they're on the rise, it's because the people cannot satisfy other needs. I always expect it to be at least around 10% for alcohol and at least 30 or 40 for religion, just because it seems to be the base at which people choose it, even if their other needs are met. But when people can't get their needs met in this game, they try a different need. They sort of switch what they like, and they go try and visit a different service. So alcohol addiction and religion sympathy being on the rise is usually an indicator that other needs are not being met. And likewise, when I see them going down, it's actually usually a good thing. Alright, it's time for a quick little pulse check here. Take a look at some of the stats. And right off the bat, we still have a good amount of educated workers. Let's see, last year. So, yeah, in 1965, we did lose some population. However, happiness continues to rise overall. Food satiation up and down. I guess I'm having distribution problems, but now it's zooming back up. Health seems to go up and down. It seems to get worse in the winter. Government loyalty increased after we built a bunch of monuments. Alcohol addiction is dropping. Culture enjoyment is on the rise. Sports enjoyment is on the rise. Those ones tend to go up very slowly. And religion sympathy dropping again as well. Let's take a look. Still very high though, but that's normal for this kind of game. Clothing also had a bit of a dip, went up and down, so I assume we had some distribution hiccups, but barring any further ones, we should be good to go. Well, I think all we're doing this episode is looking at the stats, but it's because I'm biting my nails here to see if this town is viable. So, yeah, deaths and escapes are persistently high. Births are looking good, and they tend to outpace deaths, so that's a very good thing. But year to date, it is a bit of a tricky situation here. Yeah, we're shedding some people. Basic education, okay. However, productivity is good. Happiness continuing to increase. Same with food satiation. You know, a lot of the basic happiness components, they're moving in a very good direction. So I think I still think that the population trends will correct themselves with a bit more time. We're still in 86 here, so yeah. Let's look a bit. This is just January to now. Yeah, there are more births than deaths. The problem is the escapes. Yeah, if we look at all time, Yeah, there's a lot of deaths and escapes recently. Yeah, these are the all-time escapes. So it seems like they did peak. So I'm not totally crazy. We were clearly having some supply chain issues. I wasn't pushing food and clothing promptly enough to the stores. I think at one point I didn't have enough employees in the stores. But the escapes are trending down. They peaked in 1955, and we did have fewer so far in 1966 compared to last year. Other news. We are building a bar restaurant. They're calling Miami Bar. It's a mod building down on the waterfront. And I did build a medical university, a medical faculty. The game has 3 different types of university, and each one can only do its type of research. So I hope that will help address the deaths, but this is a real mystery. We're getting more deaths in the last few years than at the very beginning of the game. So I'm a bit concerned, but we're going to keep on trucking and figure it out. It's time to look at charts and numbers. So, if we look at a recent time scale, I think we are back into some natural population growth very recently. Happiness much better. Definitely positive trajectory overall. Food satiation is steady. Health is a mystery. It really drops severely every winter. And I wonder what's causing that, if it's just the cold, or people aren't going outside to use the sports facilities, or the heating network. I've made sure that the heating network is extensive, and it really should be meeting people's needs, but it's shocking. It's very clear that it drops a lot. And once again, this is an average between this town and everywhere else on the map, where I assume it's static. Government loyalty coming back up nicely, but it wasn't a huge jump. Let's see culture. This one takes a long time to climb. It changes very slowly, but it's a very good trend. Alcohol is down, which we like to see. And yeah, so I'm going to keep building the odd sports facility as well. It's just like culture. It climbs over time. Whoa, religion, sympathy has fallen off a cliff, and clothing is pretty much tracking what food is doing. So I think all of our problems were just distribution. Alright, so we'll take another quick look at the stats here. I was just planning some extractive industries because we got our geological survey research. So babies up and down, children holding steady, adult productive workers are on the rise. So I think we're out of the rut. Happiness solidly on the rise. So I think it really was just the distribution issues that were driving people away. Health and government loyalty are going up. Alcohol addiction staying down. Culture enjoyment going up. Bet we'll see something similar for sports. There we go. So all these indicators are moving in the right direction. There is still the mystery of population dropping a bit every winter, and health going down every winter, and deaths spiking in the winter. So I'll have to keep that in mind. So, in 1967, we got our geological survey showing us where oil, coal, and iron were. And since then, I set up one little oil derrick, and we've been exporting crude oil, which is a nice way to get some starter cash. You can see it's already, by dollars, it's my number one export. So ideally, I would love to turn it into fuel, because we are spending a lot importing fuel. But with some of these extractive industries, it's nice because they take a long time to develop and set up, but you can at least get some profit in the meantime while you're developing by exporting raw resources. So I've been planning some supply chain for construction industry and ignoring the town a bit. So it's time to check charts, and actual population is looking good. I'm seeing a positive trend over the past year, and you can see where our trough was and that we're clearly coming out of it. Happiness hitting 70%, that's what we like to see. Satiation's pretty good. Health is good overall, but again, I'm still wondering why we get these such severe drops every single winter. It has to be something to do with the heating system. Alcohol is looking good. Culture looking good. Okay, so I'm at the point where this town might almost be quote-unquote self-regulating, where what I really need to do is build some more housing, for example. But most of the services seem to be working, the food distribution seems to be working, and if that continues long enough, population will grow on its own. But yeah, so it's bizarre. All time, yeah, population's flat since 1965, but in reality, it crashed between 65 and 67, and it's only just in the last year that it's been growing again. Quick check on the stats, just to assure myself that nothing else bad is happening so far. So, okay, there we go. I think university education, educated citizens really tells the story, because I believe they're the most susceptible to running away. So it's good to see that in 1968, year to date, they're strongly up. No education's up a little, but that's good because that's babies. People are having babies again. Very good to see. Very good to see. All right, it's December of 1972. The town's evolved quite a bit in the last couple of years, and I want to just take a look at our resource production to kind of tell that economic story of what's going on. We have a coal mine and a coal processing plant online now, as well as some oil. So we'll just take a look at this year. You can see the coal and the coal ore. They have a similar value, but we produce twice as much coal ore as we did coal. So it's definitely more efficient to export the processed coal, fewer trucks, less gasoline, and interestingly, it's actually more efficient transportation-wise than oil, which we've been exporting with trucks. Crops, similar story. We produced a lot of crops that are worth a lot of value. Here I'm looking at all-time production, but the volume is way different. So all time we've produced 1.5 million rubles worth of crops, but that's 62,000 tons. There's no way we could afford to put that in trucks and burn gas to sell it at the border. Whereas most of that 62,000 has been turned into just 7,000 tons of food and 4,000 tons of alcohol, which, by the way, are worth almost double what the crops were worth. It's a combined 2.7 or 2.8 million rubles. Now, some proportion of that we've eaten, but a lot has been exported, and that has helped to pay for all the construction. All right, folks, we're going to leave it there for now. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who watched and suffered through the very blurry adolescence of this town and this series. I think I'm calling it that because it feels appropriate. I think most towns, most nations, most projects that people do for the first time, they have a bit of an adolescent period where they're still figuring things out and it's maybe not so pretty to look at. And that's where we are here. Besides, this game is very much about the industrial economy of your nation, and we're just starting coal here. I think you're not truly a mature republic in this game until you have a coal and steel industry. And ideally, we wouldn't burn coal for electricity, but we're not even energy independent at this stage, so it's better to have our own coal power than no electricity at all. So, the next episode's already edited, and it's a lot better quality. We're back to normal. We're back to better than normal, I think. I had bad application settings for both the game and the application I use to record, and I unwittingly played many hours, many years in this game with those settings, but I have shoved all the bad and blurry footage into this one episode. So feel free to tell your friends to start out with the next episode, episode 12, and things should be back to normal. Thanks again. This is Soviet SimCity. I'm Mr. Squiggs.